it is Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you step by step, fully focused for beginners, how to create this adorable Vincent van Gogh's painting. Now, I think this painting is really fun because we took the style of Vincent van Gogh and we're using it in a modern context and putting it into our current celebration of Halloween. So the brush strokes and kind of the essence of him is definitely in here, but the painting is its own new revisitation. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hey, guys.
He is going to be making sure you can see everything that you need to see so you can create this for yourself at home by zooming in on the action, making sure the camera's pointing at the palette so you see the color mixes, really close up on the easel so you can see the brush strokes, everything you need to do so that you as a new student can really create this for yourself with a high level of success at home. And that's always really exciting to me, the idea that across this platform, across the distances in all these countries, you know, breaking down every barriers, we're painting together. I really love that. And to that end, we're here live. Hey, everybody in the live stream. Let's everybody in the live stream wave to everybody on the replay.
Time travelers.
Time travelers that we are. If you have any questions, definitely put them all in caps. The moderators will catch those. If we already know the answer, we may send you the video where the answer to that question is. If John catches it, he might ask me live on the show. And sometimes I go by after. If I see a question that we missed that I feel is relevant and we needed to answer, I take care of it at that time. Are you guys ready to jump on in?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go get into it. Yay, empty palette. Okay, so here is the finished rendition, and you can see the loose and expressive brush strokes. I think I painted this with very, very few brushes, and it was quite a lot of fun. Some things I'd like to point out to you. If you check the description below, there's a link to the website. On the website is the step-by-step that you can follow. I highly recommend printing it out because it's going to help you not feel lost during the project. Sometimes when we're learning how to paint, there's a lot of anxiety, the live's going really fast, and you feel like you're not hearing everything you need to hear. This can be an extra little anchor to keep you really on track and feeling like you know how things are going. While there is a traceable, I've also included a grid, and the grid is based on the halfway point lines of 5.5 and 7 inches, and then a vertical line of 3.5 and a vertical line of 8, and then a horizontal line, vertical line of 3, horizontal line of 3.5, and a horizontal line of 10.5. And what that's going to let you do is that you just come in and draw, right, the few places. So you wouldn't draw this whole picture, you would just draw this line right here, and you pay attention to when it enters and exits. So those are the couple ways that you're going to get it in. I probably will freehand because I feel pretty confident in this design, and I have its original here, so it'll be easy for me to get the sizing correct. As the usual, we like to put some wishes and intentions and ideas on our canvas to put out in the universe some good in the world. And there's been a lot of requests lately, peace throughout the world. I have to say, I really would like peace throughout the world. But I really love recently this private wish for peace between sisters and to like resolve old family disputes to a happy new reality. And I think I'd like to see that happening for anyone who's having a dispute in their family right now, that you guys get a resolve and everybody comes back together in love. And then, of course, as I've been wishing for a ton lately, to get the license and become an official Disney artist for the TheArtSherpa. I'm not going to let that go until it happens. Hopefully, I won't be doing that in 10 years. Because now I've set an expectation for myself. I am just using a wet brush and brushing away the watercolor wishes. See how that just erases it right from my surface? And it's going to blend it in. And I'm going to just probably continue to use this big brush since it's in my hand. This is a number 30 Ruby Satin short-handled bright. Short handles can be really nice if you're sitting at any kind of a table and you're sitting down, because sometimes the long handle can poke you in the eye. Is really all it is. It's just about being as comfortable in your studio space as you possibly can. Now I'm loading up this big brush, and I want you to pay attention while we're here at the easy stage. Notice how I go to the paint and I pull out what's called a landing strip and I flip the brush. That's how you get a very heavy load into your brush, so that when you paint, the brush covers quite a lot of canvas. Also at this stage, because I'm not looking for a particular technique or brush stroke, I'm looking to create the underpainting for the whole thing. All I'm going to do is just press really hard and go back and forth very quickly. But you can see that load got me a lot. Now I just dip in water and I drag off the extra because I don't want too much water in my acrylic paint. That can make it too thin and not perform as well. And you can see again, having a pretty easy time covering the whole thing. Now it does help that my brush is designed to take a load of acrylic paint and hold it in the belly and release it on the canvas in a very predictable way. That certainly does improve my chances. And I'm just noticing my sweet husband painting my canvas black before the show because I forgot to.
Well,
Thank you, baby.
You know me in contrast.
All right. John's going to have to explain the context of why that's so funny. And I'm going to dry the surface so we can sketch in our design.
So, yes, make sure that when you're using your air remover there, that you use it on the lowest heat setting, because especially on these layers, you don't want them to become sticky with the heat. You don't want color shift either, but heat will soften that acrylic paint, and it can also cause other issues. But for sure, just use it on the cool air mode. That'll help you dry it. Just make sure it's thoroughly dry so that this next layer you put on there, or when you draw with chalk, it doesn't pick up and smear that that paint, because that's just not what you want, is it? You want nice, crisp, cool, like wavy lines. Oh yeah. So context. I like contrasty things, and so Cinnamon's always giving me a hard time because I'm like, can you up the contrast on that? So, there's just sort of a husband-wife thing that I'm constantly saying.
How are you doing?
Good.
Did you explain your contrast fascination?
Sort of. I don't know how to, other than I'm constantly bugging you about contrast, I don't know how much
He
more
is. He's just like, it needs more contrast. It's like somebody in the kitchen constantly needs more salt.
Well, that's true. Contrast is like cowbell.
You can never have enough. It can never be too much.
You
All
can
right.
never.
So I'm going to put these side by side for myself so I can sketch this in relatively similarly. You guys have your traceables and your other anchors. Here, I'll do like this. So when you're looking at this pot, it comes to about here on the canvas, over on the left-hand side, not quite to the halfway point. And you can kind of see what I mean because the halfway point is 7 inches. And look, right there. You can come down and make a little smile.
You could scoot those both over to your left. That way you can use more.
Okay. I just didn't want to mess with you. I want them to be able to see everything.
Yeah, I've got it. See it.
This first thing is like, I guess, correction. It's more of a frown. It sort of curves like this. Do you see how we're doing this? Curve. And then we're going to make the smile part. And that's how we're going to get our lips for our cauldron. Now, our belly comes close to the edge and close to the bottom, but it doesn't come all the way. I like to bring it in. Maybe even take this out a little bit further. Make it a slightly bigger cauldron. Make sure I've got it going enough both ways. Now see, you can freehand things in. You can use the traceable. And there's a video on how to use a traceable. So no, I don't expect you to just know how to do that, like right off the bat. And what I'm doing is I'm making little adjustments to make sure that I like the line of my design. And what I love about using chalk, like chalkboard chalk, is look, I can erase these lines very easily and make adjustments.
You could just change it out. Now, that's one of the reasons why you want to make sure your paint is thoroughly dry, right?
That is one of the reasons my paint needed to be thoroughly dry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to have my ghost here, but what's important for me to remember is I'm going to have a star here, and then maybe one a little bit down. Let's put a moon in the corner here, and then another star. And then what we're going to have is, let's see if I can get this sort of interesting little sky space that we've got, right? It kind of curves up and curves down. I gave myself the line so that I can think about how that might go as I'm painting it with the pink. I will take its extra bits out of my wonderful cauldron, now that I have enough information. And that's going to be pretty easy to follow. All I've got to do from here is get a little white paint out in all my different little colors. Let's put out a little white paint. That's titanium white. I'm going to also put out, I've got blue. I may go ahead and hit just a a smidge of my phthalo green so I can get some phthalo turquoise going around my stars. And I'm going to need to put out some yellow. Like you do.
Like you do.
Like we all do. And then I'm going to put out a little of my quinacridone magenta. And I think it'll be nice. Now, this is called Cad Red Light, but what you're looking for, and I'm going to talk about substitutions here before we get into this, right? Because sometimes we get really nervous about what we can substitute and how we can substitute it. So what I'll say for these three reds, right, and the alizarin crimson, what you want is a deep red that kind of reminds you of blood, a bright red that kind of reminds you of a Ferrari, a red that looks almost like orange, but kind of a deep orange. And then the magenta is just really a bright pink. This will work with any paints. This will work with any paints in those ranges. Okay. So it's in this particular piece, it's not hypercritical. You have my exact colors. What would be important is that you have colors that are similar in nature, if that makes sense. So don't get stressed on the exchanges. Just use what you have in your set. You're going to have a good time. If you're using student paint, remember it may take a few extra strokes to cover what you've got. Mm-hmm. Now, I like to start out. I'm going to take a little of my white and yellow together, and I'm going to come here and make sure that I remind myself that I've got, you know, some stars to think about in a moon. Always pretty fun to paint. And then another little star over here. I know that I've got that. And I get to begin to paint in this really fun, interesting little Starry Night deal. I'm going to take, I'm going to actually probably get into my pink first, I think. I'm going to go ahead and take a little of my small amount of my yellow into my magenta and grab some white. You can see it's really a pretty color. I'm going to come over here and make some strokes. It's okay that they're going to go through my cauldron, guys. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that on yours. You know where it is, and that's the important thing. And notice that I'm going on the toe of my brush. This is a number 8 cat's tongue, but you could use a round or a bright. Don't feel like you've got to use just one kind of brush unless specifically there's a technique that's really made for that brush. Right? Let's move this over in a more comfortable spot. And we're going to just weave these loose Van Gogh brush strokes, right, through here. See, I'm just dancing and I'm letting them weave together. It's okay to bring them back, and it's okay if a little bit of your blue sky shows through. I'm going to take that down through here and make sure that it's coming down over here. Now I'm going to get into my orange, and I might mix my orange and my magenta a bit. It makes a real pretty color. See how we're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Just coming back and forth. It's nice to bring some over here. And then if I get into my yellow, I can start talking about that brighter part of the sky as it's going to come down. So when I put my grass in, it will have a nice overlap. Now, one thing I can do is I can wipe off the excess paint. And I can go right into my yellow. Even if it picks up a little bit of orange, that's okay. And put some of that back in here. So we have those bright pops of it. And I take this down at least, I might leave like the inch where I know I'm going to have landscape that I don't really have to paint it. But I want to take it low enough that when I come in with grass, let me grab some of this. When I come in with the grass, I don't want to be fighting it. So I came in and I just grabbed a little bit more of my magenta there. You know, always grab the white. Really does some cool things.
I love these colors. These colors combinations.
It just makes me super happy.
And I can't wait for the sky.
It just all comes together, and then you're like, oh, it's so pretty.
You know.
There we go. And it's fun to take some light value. See, I grabbed some white, and I'm just Van Goghing it through there. It's not stressful. Now, if you're a little nervous about, you know, what's going on with your cauldron, right, which would be reasonable, you can always come back in at this stage and make sure that you sort of resketch it in. Sometimes I come in and I get a little white paint just so I can remember where everything is as I'm painting so expressively.
Mm-hmm.
And just re-sketch it in. It'll be fine, so you don't have to be too overtly concerned about it.
This blue on this background really is interesting. How strong it is against these colors.
Oh yeah, that is color theory right there.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Now, speaking of some color theory, I'm going to continue with this brush. I'm going to take a little of my green and my phthalo blue, and I'm going to mix them together. I'm going to add a small amount of white to it. And I'm going to begin to come around these stars, making little kind of circular, layered brush strokes.
Mm-hmm.
So this can be really hard. This is a C stroke, which means it's curved like a C, right? And I'm going to radiate this out. This is sort of a deep green right now. I'm just using enough white to sort of see it because I want room to put in lighter colors and colors that vibrate a little bit differently. There we go. Just put that around the moon. So I come around the moon, and then my goal is to create this round shape around it, but I've got to make streaks inside of it. So that's what I do is I come around that outside edge first. And then I kind of go in here and I'll begin to blend them out there. Just going around these objects. And at this stage, things are super loose. They're relaxed. They're not intense yet. And come here and make sure I've got this one done. And it's just little bits of marks that are going around in a radial fashion. A little more green, a little more blue, mix them together, a smidge of white. And then as I'm going, I can come and add a little more white into that mixture. And I'm going to make brush strokes that are perhaps just a little more defined. Again, I'm still using a number 8's cat's tongue. You could use my number 4 round for this. You could use a filbert. The important thing isn't the brush, it's the curve of that stroke. See how we're kind of creating these little curved dash strokes?
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody does this technique a little bit differently. But what everybody also does is think everybody else's version of the technique is better than theirs. So your only assignment in this part of the story of your Van Gogh, Vincent van Goghs, is to make sure that you give as much love to your brushstroke and your way of painting as you would to anybody else. I'm going to add a little more white to it. You can see it just goes a little more turquoise. I might even come down here a bit around the star. And it's fun to, I feel, get into the blue and then come back even. See how we're doing down here? Almost blending that sky, isn't it? And then you can get some pink. Start to think about how we might blend that up. Look at that. I think we're going to have even more fun with this guy than we did the first time. How cool is that? Sometimes I like to rinse out. Getting back into my primary 2 colors. You can always even add a little yellow to it if you want to brighten it up a bit. See how that gets it into that almost sea green?
Mm-hmm.
So just making those little dash marks inside so that my dash marks outside make sense.
So that's interesting. You think your dash marks make sense?
I think they do.
Husband heckling.
Husband heckling.
It's almost automatic. I can't help myself.
I've noticed that. I've noticed that you really struggle not to heckle. And that's okay. Because you're funny. So I don't mind. And also, if you're really new to our channel, my husband's very sweet. And he's just goofing with me. And we've been married like 21 years. So that is a process of our marriage, I feel.
I also think it's like an unspoken thing between you and I just to keep you on your toes. So you're not.
I mean, I didn't know you were given that assignment, but sure, why not?
Because you get to thinking about what you're painting sometimes.
Yeah. Just no more help with the pizza delivery. No more of that.
I don't do pizza delivery or drive-thrus.
And shouldn't participate in it anymore is what I'm saying.
I'm tapping
Don't help me anymore.
I won't. You got that.
Unless I ask.
Okay.
And then immediately come and help me. With no resistance. That is marriage defined. See, we're just dashing around. This is one of those designs, especially learn this technique, embrace this technique, and then try doing it in some other things, because the actual act of these circular strokes is very meditative and very relaxing and peaceful and wonderful. So it's something definitely you want to embrace. Let me get a thing over here to the side so I know where I'm at in the world. Okie dokie. All right. So as we're going, I've got to get some dark ranges out here. And what I'm going to do to get my dark ranges, I'm going to take some Doc's Purple. And I'm going to put out a little more Phthalo Blue. That's for my convenience because I don't want to mix up my colors. And I'm going to start deepening the sky and defining this radial joy in such a way that we really, really love it. I find that these little spots where two radials meet are probably the most challenging part for me to try to make sure that my patterns kind of flow. And to do that, what sometimes I try to do is imagine water and how water might flow. There are areas where I can get very solid with my brush strokes, with my color, and I will embrace those everywhere that I can. And even here, if I'm very solid, even on the background, guys, I'm going to make sure that that implied stroke is prevalent. Can you see how that's done?
Yeah.
Like, so I'll come around here. For sure, I definitely want to speak to some of this. Can't tell you how many times in my life I have done this type of sky. I think my first original one that I did was the stars over the Alamo, the stars over Texas. Which is always a controversial piece to do because we have different history books in Texas is what I'll say. That's the diplomatic way of saying it. I got one set of history books in California, very different set of history books in Texas.
Yeah, see things differently when you live in a place versus when you watch it from the outside.
Sure.
I will say that having grown up here and then moved elsewhere.
And you're like, oh, they were insurgents. Okay.
That's interesting.
Didn't know it was that way. Anyways, I don't want to get kicked out of the monument by saying anything because they will kick you right out of the monument. They can remove you if you say anything that they don't like because it's privately owned.
As Ozzy Osbourne found out.
As Ozzy Osbourne sadly found out. So back into our fun, lovely swirls.
What were we talking about again?
I don't even know anymore. So I'm going to take a little of my pink and I'm going to get a little white into it because that can be kind of nice. And I am going to definitely bring some of that color through here and up a bit, especially over on this side. I like to bring little bits of it up into here. And see, we can kind of make this figure 8, and that's a very flowing thing. Rinse out thoroughly. Are you guys, I just love how these skies work. I'm going to be real honest. I just love it. I'm going to get some of my turquoise again. Right, mixed in there. And I'm going to definitely make sure that blend is well done. Maybe go a little darker blue right there. And if you're like, oh, I got to blend it back, you just come back with a dark thing and you can blend right into each other. It really tends to work out. So, see? There's just nowhere that the color can't be.
You know my feeling on this.
What?
I've got a fever, and the only prescription is more contrast.
Oh, don't let him continue this. Stop him, y'all, because if you don't, we'll all be sorry later. Now, don't be too stressed about this area because we're going to have our little ghosts going up into here. And they will be having their own little journey. I sometimes will just put a few streaks through, though, just to show that depth. Now, put out a little more yellow. I like to get a little yellow right there. A little yellow right there. I might mix a touch of it into my cad red light, my orange red, just to start my moon, because I feel like it's nice. Blue and orange really play against each other. And yellow, these colors are vibrant in relationship to each other, so it's fun to get into them. Now I'll grab some just yellow. And I'm dashing the moon as well. And I'll come back with some orange, and I'm going to dash the moon at the back. See how we're dashing the moon? Dashes. Play with it a bit. Well, that starts a little bit of orange. That's cool, though. I'm going to leave it. It looks awesome. Sometimes when you're painting, you'll be like, that's good. I'm going to get a little white and a little yellow. And I'm going to make the, kind of like the light radiating out from the star. Vincent van Gogh may have seen the world very differently than the rest of us. Colors and experiences may have been very different for him.
Yeah, I would say that wormwood could do that to you.
Also that. You made me goof. I think that's the first John actually functionally did make me goof on the show. So if you have a comedian in your studio, be careful not to apply your brush while you're laughing. I'm just talking a little bit about the light around the moon and the light around these objects. It's just fun for me. Sometimes I get a little overexcited, as I am now, but I can't help it. It's super fun. I like that. So you just take these to where you like it. Now, I personally think there's a nice touch where I come in with some white. So weird, it rolled up in the weirdest way. Hold on a second, costume adjustment. I got a very rolling.
What's up?
I don't know, my shawl rolled.
I'm giving you some privacy for your adjustment.
My adjustment there, I was having a whole little moment.
I wasn't sure what was going on. So.
Yeah. Oh, it got tangled.
Oh.
Apparently I'm expressive with my gestures and it got tangled. I'm taking just some white. This is a powerful step. This technique works with any range of colors and stories. Play with it. Be creative with it. I get asked a lot, is it copyright infringement to paint a Van Gogh painting? And it is not. As long as you don't claim it's an original Van Gogh, it is part of the public domain, and you may replicate it. But remember, in sale, you should always attribute it as a replica of Vincent van Gogh, not your original work and not his work. If you say it's his work, then the feds come.
Oh, that's forgery.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So
That's
interesting how it's like our job as artists to kind of copy as we're learning, except when you sign somebody else's name and then it's a crime.
right. Don't get too good at it.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. All right. So I've got a little yellow out. I'm going to put out some yellow ochre. It's kind of a yellow gold. And I'm going to put out some burnt sienna. I got to clean that cap badly. That's a bad got to clean. And then I'm going to put out a little black to deepen it. And we're going to do a very similar technique on our little cauldron here. Now, I'm going to begin the cauldron by getting some of my green. And I'm going to come in and paint this interior ellipse where the liquid would be with the green. Then I'm going to get a bunch of the yellow and maybe even a smidge of the white on here. And I'm going to using the dashes radially. You can always get more green. Just come in and paint the magic brew that's bubbling in our Vincent van Gogh's cauldron. These are art lovers trying to speak to Van Gogh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all his art friends. Have a little art discussion, settle an art dispute. Because, like, honestly, you know, if you could, like, have somebody like Bob Ross come in and mediate or Van Gogh, your art discussions, that would be like dropping the mic, wouldn't it? Well, like Bob would come in and be like, nope. Vincent comes in and goes, nope. Everybody would be like, well, I guess so. Vincent said it's true. All right. So you can see we're just mimicking what we did on the outside there.
Yeah.
Now, my first little bit that I want to put on, I'm going to take my black and my burnt sienna, and I'm going to make a very dark brown chocolate color. I'm going to bring this dark brown chocolate color. I haven't even changed out of the number 8. I may never change brushes. I'm not sure that I will have to change. I might change like one time for a number 4 round.
You get brush stubborn.
No, I'm just comfortable, and I only change brushes if a space needs it or technique needs it, or I'm uncomfortable with the size of the brush that I'm using. But I'm exceedingly comfortable with the size of the brush that I'm using. So it's not really a problem. I'm going to take a little of this kind of black and brown. And the outside edges, they're still dashed though, guys. They're still dashing. Dashing through the paint. On Halloween with me. Da-da-da-da. Okay, sorry. The shopping experience is confusing me about what holiday I'm in. It's really hard to know where we are in Hollow Craftsmas. It's just somewhere in here. There's some decor. There's some turkeys, and I really think that Nightmare Before Christmas is about the only way to decorate anymore.
This is early Hollow Craftsmas.
Now I'm going to begin to sort of talk about that there's this center that's brighter and lighter. I'm going to dash here as I begin to speak of it. See how I'm doing the dashes?
Mm-hmm.
Just taking this. Dashing across here. Dashing everywhere. If I need a more solid color, I don't want the blue to shine through here. So I will make sure that the surface is covered thoroughly, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I'm doing here. I don't want the blue to shine through. You can also lighten up your burnt sienna with a little bit of your cad orange, which is a lot of fun. Because you can create these little brighter versions of these strokes.
Got to get those layers in.
You have to get the layers in on this technique. There is a layer requirement. But now that you've got the base in, I can come back in and get my dark chocolate color again. Making sure the sides. And this is sort of how we're shading it.
Now, are you going to hide a TARDIS in the sky of this one?
No TARDIS this time. But if you want to do one with the TARDIS in it because you're a fan of Doctor Who and Vincent, I do have a replica of Van Gogh's Starry Night that you can paint along with, of the actual original painting that he did. And then I hit a TARDIS in it because, you know. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, seriously. Like,
of course I did. So that's looking really good. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to mix a little of my brown with my yellow ochre. And I'll begin these smaller dashes, as you do, to talk about the metal reflection that I have going right here. Now I'm going to kind of put its little focus about there, so that's what I'm doing, moving this reflection in. I'm just trying to make sure the radial light looks like it's going out, and then put a little highlight on the rim is always nice. And it can be nice to put another little highlight there. Now, I do like to take my cad yellow and my yellow ochre and mix them together in a half mix, which you can see gives me a more muted cad yellow. Now I'm going to bring this all the way in here because I do want to get rid of all the blue. But notice even when I'm painting it in, I'm keeping that rough brush stroke.
mm-hmm.
I'm going to put out some more yellow. We're kind of whipping through this. I almost need to take a sip. This is looking good.
It's looking really good.
It's just a fun painting to do.
And really,
definitely two hoop, but I rated them all for the season. And then again, you've got the step-by-step, which is going to help a lot. You've got the traceable if you're not into drawing, and you've got the grid if you're kind of like dipping your toe in that drawing experience. You're really covered in your beginner journey.
Yeah, we just crossed the 38-minute mark, so I think you're going to pull this in just under an hour.
I think so too.
You know, you're trucking right along.
It is a good one. So I'm going to take a little more yellow, cad yellow, and mix it into my yellow ochre. And then I'm going to begin continuing these little dash marks. As you do. Now notice that I'm kind of curving them around here. And let me give you a focal. I'm going to give you a little bit of white right here so you can see where we're heading. This is what we're trying to curve around. That's what we're speaking to. I'm going to take a little of this and maybe even come along there. It's fun stuff. You can't really get it wrong. Sometimes art feels like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm mixing this orange into this yellow ochre and cad yellow mix. But you really can't. We're arting. And the value of this is in your experience and in your journey more than anything else. Since I know I'm going to have fire there, maybe I get a little bit brighter and crazier with the orange. Rinse out. I'm going to grab some white. Get it on the toe of my brush. And then I'm going to grab some yellow. And just make sure that I pop a couple bright pops of yellow in there. That's all I need to do that. You can play with it as long as you like, but the effect you're going for is your darker colors on these outer edges, then your orange and your browns here in the mid-range, and then coming into your yellow ochres mixed with your browns into your yellows and your oranges towards the center. So you create a hot spot. We've got our green and cad yellow up here done in the Van Gogh style, and now we're ready to move on to our ghosts. To our ghosts. Now, I'm going to chalk these guys in so you have kind of an idea of where they would go. And I'm going to put our little fellow here in first. So I'm going to come in, and they're kind of like little tadpoles. Not to insult them in any way.
I don't think they would feel insulted. They're already here to haunt you.
They're already here to haunt me. Or I just kind of make that shape. And then I know he's got to have a little friend coming in like that drop. And then I thought it would be fun to counterpose kind of coming up this way like this. So we've got that. So there's sort of a little middle space between the three Van Goghs.
You know, I'm not going to speak to the ominousness of those ghosts are coming out of a pot of boiling stuff. So, implying they might be recently deceased.
They might be.
As opposed to this being, say, a ghost hot tub.
So I'm taking a little white and mixing it into my purple. And my first little run of dashes, I'm going to come in and just sort of dash.
Ooh, oh, I didn't catch that. Those guys are even getting kind of the dashiness.
Yeah, they're all dashed too. Everything goes dashy, nice. Even the grass and the fire. Mm-hmm. Dashy, dashy, dashy. Commit to the technique, right?
I see it.
You know, and as we come in, we'll just keep. There, do. That's how we keep that dashing going. Keep that dashing going. It's a good time to just take up little marks that bend up. These are S curves and they are fine lines. They sort of follow the space that the ghosts are in. You don't need too many in this purple range because we're going to come back with some light white, but it's nice to have some. Everybody gets the same treatment. Little lavender. Very light. It's just like a white that's got a bit of a purple to it. So it's not a dark color. And just, radiate them out. Don't irradiate them, radially express them. Now, when it's all dry, I can remove any of the excess chalk guidelines that I was using. That's why Kids Chalk sometimes makes a nice tool to have on your art table because you might want to experiment or explore an idea, but not be totally committed to it. Chalk allows you to kind of go like, would there be something here? And then you can look at it and be like, yes, there is something there. Or be like, no, there's nothing there. And you can very easily erase it. And in art, I think it's important to be able to undo a thought or explore a couple thoughts before committing to a final outcome. Here we go. Just painting those in. Get that center sort of painted in. That's a good beginning, isn't it?
It is.
Now, we haven't gone nearly far enough. So we're going to put out a little more white. As you do. And I'm going to take a little of my blue on my brush and I'm going to get some white into it. It's pretty white. It's not pure white, and it is a different color than what we've gone through and done so far. Come to the outside edge and make these little spectral dashes. They're a little wider and more open towards the outside, and then they're certainly more centered towards the inside. And I might paint just that little drop a bit more solid. See how I did that there?
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit. And that's really only so I can get the face in there. And you can see I bring little ghostly wisps of cooking mist up. Da, 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 da. There we go. Oh, and then let's bring that around here. Oh, that's a little bit darker than I wanted, so I'm just going to add a little more white paint. I don't have to worry about that. And I can come really and make some nice light lines that come up and flow out. As you can see, just dashing these around, curving, filling in. You can always get that center teardrop painted a little more solid. Just so you have lots of room to make his little scream face. So he can be like, oh no, or woohoo, whatever he's saying. Saying ghosty things. Ghosty things are fun.
They could be Dr. Spooky things. Spooky.
All right.
Dr. That's Spooky. Trying too hard, I think.
I think you are. I think you've now just gone into trying too hard.
That's all right. That's all right. I'll go there for all the other dads. Just we'll try it out.
It is your job to do that to your daughter, let me tell you. If not you, who then? But then who, right? I'm just taking these lighter, kind of almost pure white little lines, making that little smoke essence that's coming up. It's fun every time you do it. A little different every time you do it. Have fun. You know, and your tadpole may be a little different than my tadpole. That's cool. I tend to take my lighter value around that center so the face is just a little bit darker. And it kind of helps define it as the focus of the face. If you see what I mean. Now, to paint the faces in the next layer, I do have to dry it. So I'm going to let John say hi to you, and then we'll get those goofy faces in. I'm going to show you how to do fire in this style, and I'm going to show you how to do grass. And you're going to love both of them. And then as we get near the end, I'll show you what we've already painted, and we'll talk about you guys coming back tomorrow for Red Riding Hood.
So she's painting, someone just asked, Darlene asked, what size is this? And this is an 11 by 14 that she's painting vertically here. So, and it's a artist board, which is it's canvas stretched over a artist hardboard, which is generally not going to have acid or anything bleed through it. So I'm not sure that these are archival. Matter of fact, I don't think they are archival. Just because we don't generally buy archival boards, they're much more expensive. But that's what she's painting on. Oh, they were asking what were you painting on, and I said it's an 11 by 14.
Yeah.
And then I described it, but I don't think this is an archival board, is it?
No, but I have to tell you, like, if you're doing art for sale, if you're doing art to give to your grandchildren, if you're doing art for longevity, pay attention to things like if the board's archival, how light fast the paint is, you know, all of those things. If you're painting for right now, pay attention to how the paint performs for you, how easy the surface is to paint in, is it respecting your budget? Because, you know, I mean, this is going to last longer than me. I will be long gone before this goes anywhere. And then it becomes, I'm trying to give a job to a future art restorer.
That's right.
It's enough that I'm using Senlier and Golden and Artist Loft level 3 on these poor guys, so it's going to last forever, and somebody's going to have to consider it 500 years from now. That's mean, right?
What size is this?
11 by 14.
Okay.
It's in the description. I always try to give you the sizes, and then when I don't, people always remind me that I need to do it. So generally there's something there. I'm taking a little blue and mixing it into my black. Makes kind of, it's still a very dark color, but it gives me a little bit of kind of standout contrastiness. Now I'm going to roll this out because I want this paint to be really on the tip of my brush. These aren't very hard to do, but it's still nice to feel like I have control. So there's this sort of little kidney bean eye. And the reason it's a kidney bean eye, if you look, it kind of looks like a kidney bean. We're just doing some little character development now. I'm going to make this eye just a little bit bigger on the kidney bean. Oh, that's a good kidney bean eye. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, but he's feeling very ghosty. So he's got a little ghosty mouth. Going, ooh, give him lots of room to sing.
Mm.
You don't want to give him a little O mouth because then he's going. You want him to go, ooh. Let's do the same over here. So I like to make one eye a little bit bigger, especially if it's just in some way to variant them up or different little shapes. I feel like that's a good element of cartooning and character development. So you use those things even in your art, even in fine art. You should really pay attention to like character and narrative and story. Let's give him a really like long ooh face. Ooh, that's good. I believe that little mouth can sing, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make sure it kind of rounds itself right now. Oh, that's very much. He's got thoughts. He's got thoughts. That hue over there.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite. Like, few people ever get that joke, but it is that for me. That hue over there. I gotta make that shirt. You gotta pay attention to that hue over there. So now we've got these great ghosty faces. And look, I kind of pointed this one, so this one's sort of being stretched into the...
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to wipe off the excess pigment, but not wash it out. I'm going to load up with some white, which you'll notice still has the main color in it. And I'm going to come here, and on the inside of the eye, I'm going to make a little line and a little line. See that?
Yeah.
I need just a little more color than that because I don't want it to blend into him. It's as if you're giving them some perspective, like there's form inside of the, ooh, there's dimensionality. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Little touches, guys. Little touches. You don't have to be the most greatest trained artist in the universe to do amazingly fun art. Because look at that, super cute. But are we done yet? No, we're not done. Because he could be cuter. What? You say that's not possible. And I say yes. Yes, it is. So while you still have your number 4 here, go ahead and get a little yellow and white on there. And let's add some more little dashy marks. And over here on the moon, I think I'm going to add a little bit where there could be some stuff going on. And I'm going to bring them up. And see, they're a little bit thinner. Little touches make a difference. Can help us understand the shape and form of things. And sometimes playing two contrasting colors like a purple and a yellow against each other creates a vibration to the eye that's very powerful. Little known fact though, whereas most people feel that dioxazine purple, its contrast is yellow, it's actually a green yellow, which we're going to be adding into this space. You've just learned something that, telling you what, a lot of people in art school don't always know. And that's because it's hard to know. Because dioxazine purple is in a weird place on the color wheel. All right. So that being good, let's get our really bright yellow green that we like so much, right? So that's a little bit of green and a lot of yellow. And even some white into that mix, right? And let's put that a few places. Isn't that powerful?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of ties in what's happening in the cauldron also to our ghosts. Let me get more green over here. And gives them quite a lot of personality and contrast and color, which you want. Now, I'm going to put out my crimson right now. You can use any crimson that you want. You just want it to look a bit like blood. And we're going to start kind of getting our crimson loaded up. Let's get a little cad red into it. But we definitely want it to range in the crimson. And we're going to come up here and start putting in our fire. I'm just doing upward strokes. You can go ahead and bring some out like that, because they would come out. The fire would go some places. You're going to notice crimsons tend to be a little transparent, and that's okay. I'm using an upward stroke and letting the flames taper. See how I use a lot of S strokes?
Yeah.
Those are ones that kind of look like S's, so we're doing C's and S's. And just pulling some flames up. I don't want to cover up too much of my hot spot, but it does need to go up into it. And then here at the center, it's going to radiate like a fan. See how I'm radiating it like a fan?
Yeah.
Now, after that, I'm going to get into my cad red. I'm going to come up and with little dashes define some flames. If I need to wipe off, I will. Doesn't take that much. Define those flames. Do, 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 do. This is not that different than our fireman painting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of similar stuff going on here. So I like that. That looks pretty good. I'm going to wipe off. I'm going to go ahead and get some of what's left of my cat orange. I probably will have to put out some more, but let's finish this one off. And as we come out, let's add some orange to these flames. Whichever ones you define. And I come to the edges of the tips of them, right? If I need to get some yellow into it, maybe I'll put out a little more of my yellow and my cat orange just to get through my fire. Here. You see it's still quite orange, but you can tell that it really pops the color then. As the flames go out, we're lightening it and moving it closer to yellow. You can even bring some up higher. We're nearly done, guys. Which almost makes me sad.
This is coming together so fast.
It really does. Just continuing to lighten it out. You can always come back easily and go more crimson, blending it in. It will layer beautifully. So don't feel stressed about that. Now, I think it's important at the end to take some white, smidge of yellow, but some white, and give the edges of our flames that shape with the white. See how that just defines them?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, but it works. Now our fire is a burning, calling to the spirits of Halloween, All Hallows Eve, raising the Vincent Van Ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that I just curve these little brush strokes. Fire is wild. You don't have to be hard on yourself about it at all. You can always come back with any color to touch up, see? Pop up. You're fine. Play with your fire as long as you need to. This is the one time it's okay to play with fire. It is. It's okay to play with fire here. So now, if you look at your step-by-step, we are pretty much to the end. This is about finishing up the grass and getting everything else in.
Ah,
the trick with the grass, I would like to say, and I'll put out a little more green so I can enjoy the trick with the grass. And I have just enough yellow left and not quite enough orange. I'll put a smidge of my orange out. So it's really about getting those deep values in and those little, again, wavy brush strokes up and then finishing them with highlights. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take a little of my burnt sienna over here to my earlier green, and we're going to make this dark, dark forest green. This is almost a hooker's green. I know I didn't missay that if you're not familiar with paint colors. It's a deep green. It's a historic color, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're totally, clearly talking about crochet people.
Yep.
So I'm going to continue to pull up these grasses. And you can see I'm curving. See how I create these curves and flows? Let's S-curve these up. I'm going to fill it in where I need to with my dark values. Come over here. Similar deal. The pot has squished the grass, but I definitely want to show that that's what's there, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I don't want to take out all my nice, lovely yellow, because that's the glow to that little sunset that you want peeking out. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of this. I just take this yellow that I had over here over to my mix of green. It's slightly lighter to begin. And you can come underneath, back and forth. It's not your bright yellow, but it's bright enough to seem like a different value from what's underneath it. Begin to speak on it. And that's what you're doing, is speaking on it. Some deeper green if you need it. And you'll see that now the pure green will almost even show because of the colors underneath it. It's pretty easy to get that going. I'm going to take a little of this green over to a lot of my yellow, making that bright green. And help to get some white at this stage to help coverage. And we're going to make some highlights. Just on the tips of it. There we go. Just a little bit, doesn't have to be a lot. Because we're just talking about this grass a-blowing. Now for fun, I do like to put a little of the glow from the fire out there. So I'm going to grab some orange and say that some of these blades are reflecting light.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to sign my painting with orange today, I think. So this is what you've got to do this little Vincent van Gogh design. I expect this to be a very popular one each Halloween. I think we're coming up on 70 Halloween designs. Which is always fantastic. Speaking of, well, this is giving a dry and then we'll say goodbye, but I just want to catch you up on where we've been and what we've done so far. We finished up Morgane, so she's not here, but we did Christine. She's a video that's done that you can watch for Halloween. If you're a Stranger Things fan, we did Demogorgon and Owl battling in a beautiful wood, which was a lot of fun to do. And then we also just finished the Not Too Scary Scarecrow. Tomorrow, are you looking for Morgane? I don't know where Morgane went. I put her somewhere clever that I can never find her again from. It happens to me. Sometimes I put my paintings away somewhere really, really clever. And, you know, I can't figure out where they are. So this was yesterday. This was very one hoot and a lot of fun. There's a lot of one hoot designs coming on over this Halloween. Tomorrow we're doing a really gorgeous, I don't know how many, I have so many Red Riding Hood paintings from 1 hoot to 3 hoot. I have so many, and I decided I have not enough. So we're doing another one, and she's in these really kind of more dangerous woods than we've done in the past. with like these glowing eyes that are facing her, and that's coming up. I'm really excited about that. I'm loving the 13 days of Sherpa Wayne so much. This
Oh,
is
me
what
too.
we did today, and I think we did so good. I'm going to turn around front. Ba-doop, ba-doop. Go palette then there.
Oh, well, normally you just turn around. I'm like, there.
No, I want the palette movement. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Ah, vanity. Okay, so this is what we did today together, you and I. Some things I want you to think about. Your brushstroke is the fingerprint of your soul. Yours is not supposed to look exactly a copy of mine. That's what a photocopier is for. You're supposed to have a painting that's my design, but has a lot of your flair in it. You should have differences in how you put down the paint. You should be a little different than me. And yes, as your guide, I'm helping you get through a design. But remember that it's okay to have a lot of yourself come out in the painting. And this is wonderful that you're getting back to your own personal sense of expression. So be really easy with yourself. Come by the group on Facebook and share your paintings. And most importantly, be good to yourself and be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.